Hi everyone, welcome to today's editions of Scouting for Growth. Today I'm meeting with Simon Schneider, founding partner of Neoteq. Neoteq Ventures is an early stage venture capital firm based in Cologne, Germany. With his co-founder, BJ Park, Simon invests in outstanding teams and technology-based companies. So today we decided to cover three things. So first, we are going to start with Simon's path in VC land. Simon has been a VC for over 20 years, starting with a legal career. He will share a little bit more on this with us. Then we will talk about great minds don't think alike, they think together. Simon shared that success comes from partnership, ecosystem building, and a lens on the future. Lastly, while VCs focus on financial returns, corporates often look at strategic returns. Simon shares his startup tips to make sure that ventures do not get sidelined when the corporation's strategy changes. So let's welcome Simon. So Simon, thank you so much for being with me today on Scouting for Growth. I would love for you to tell us about you as a venture capitalist. I remember meeting you when I was at SBC Insurtech. You were evaluating a lot of my ventures and deciding whether you were going to invest in them when you were in Maschmeyer Group Ventures. And so tell us who you are and what got you to become a VC.
Yeah, hi Sabine. Very tough question already for the beginning. Thank you for that. So in the end, it has been really coincidence that I entered the VC business. It was in 2001, and at the end of my studies, to be honest, I'm a lawyer, but decided not to work as a lawyer because someone said, why don't you go to these VC guys? They need someone like you because you know how contracts should look like and you have a good understanding of people. And why don't you go to the VC business? So that was in 2001, so really a long time ago. And so really by an advice from a friend, I entered the VC business without ever had special plans to go in such direction. And then I started my VC career. And from the first day on, it was really fascinating to see all these founders, these teams with great ideas and great technologies and really game-changing ideas for their businesses they wanted to establish. And so I was really happy having the chance to get into this business and stayed in the VC world. Okay, so for now nearly more than 20 years. And yeah, it's a long journey since that. I have seen a lot of things, but the fascination of this business and having the chance to work with all these special people together is still there. And so I can tell you today that with no doubt, I still love my job, love what I have the chance or the possibility to do. And yeah, that's perhaps gives you a little bit of background how I came into this business.
Lovely to hear. And so tell us why Neoteq Ventures. So what got you to move from Maschmeyer Group Ventures to building your own venture firm?
Yeah, so I had different stations through all these years. So I worked also for other funds, mainly here in Germany. In 2017, I joined the team of Carsten Maschmeyer for 3 years. And but I had always this idea of our own fund in my head. Okay, so it's normal then when you work in this business that at a certain point of time you ask yourself, why don't you establish your own fund? So in 2019 I decided to do so, left Maschmeyer Group, and together with my co-founder BJ Park, we started this journey with Neoteq Ventures, okay? And I learned a lot during this fundraising process. And of course, the main reason is in the end, having the chance to build up an own fund with outstanding LPs, and then really have the chance to build up your own portfolio, do it in a way you always think venture capital should look like, is something you cannot miss out. So that in the end is perhaps the easiest way to explain why I started my own fund.
So you, Simon, and BJ, the partner in crime, I've been working now together on the fund for many years now, and you have actually gone through COVID. And so I'm sure you've learned a lot around what good looks like in a pandemic environment. So can you tell us a little bit more around your investment thesis? Because I don't think it's just Insurtech, it's Tech Ventures to start with. And so how, tell us what you're after.
So you are definitely right that the whole fundraising process, especially during COVID times, was not easy. So it was, you can in the end compare with a startup. Yeah, you have a team, you have a great idea, and then you go to investors and you ask them if they would like to invest into your idea. And of course, for some, it's not really interesting to invest only in an idea. They want to see more. Okay, and especially at the beginning of our fundraising process in 2020, when COVID appeared suddenly in all our lives, that was hard because meetings were no longer possible for a certain time. And it is, of course, clear that investors do not decide through a Zoom call if they would like to invest into a new fund. So we needed more time than expected. But in September 2020, we were able to announce our first closing. And the focus of our fund, you already said it, is not only Insurtech, that's true. So we concentrate on early stage investments, which means for us pre-seed, seed, and Series A. This is our sweet spot. We do not have a specific sector focus. But we look, of course, for technology-based startups. And what we, in the end, would like to see is, apart from the team, we can talk about that later, is, of course, the market perspective. And then the other topic, which I think is really relevant, is the question, which customer problem do you solve? Okay, it sounds like an easy question, but often when you meet founders and you ask them, which customer's problem are you solving? They really have difficulties to describe that. And if you cannot really describe what the customer problem is, why should someone be willing to buy it? Market combined with team and technology are three main parts of our due diligence where we look at before we decide if it is an interesting investment target for us or not. And then it's not really for us important in which sector you are with your business. It's more to see if there is really something you can scale to a big player all around the world.
And it's good to hear that. So the team, the technology, the problem which is being solved, and being able to communicate that and scaling is important for you. This morning, I'm sure you get a lot of those messages yourself, people asking me about, what is happening around metaverse, NFT, and Web 3.0. And so my next question to you is, what are the trends you are betting on? Where are you focusing your attention?
So this is always not so easy to answer, but to give you some examples of all the whole companies who are coming up at the moment, working on solutions around climate tech, sustainability, this is, of course, something which is really interesting, and I see a lot of potential in this sector, okay, because it's relevant for all of us, and the better the solutions are, the more it will help our planet to survive, hopefully. So this combined with new technology is, of course, something which is really interesting, okay? Apart from that, fintech, insurtech is still a space where we really like to look at, because we think a lot of things are going on there and a lot of things can still be improved for the customers, for the insurers themselves, or for the banks, or for the financing institutes. So this is still a sector where we see a lot of potential. But we have also invested into a logistics startup, and we have also invested into a PropTech startup. So you see the range of sectors where we look at is quite big.
Yes, the sectors you are looking at is quite broad, and climate, environmental tech, sustainability tech is definitely a big area right now. I'd like to take you to the journey we just went on. You know, you just finished Insurtech Symposium, a wonderful conference, which I'm very privileged to participate to. And I remember a statement at the end of the session that Carsten Maschmeyer highlighted around, you know, the world we are living in and some of the changes around Insurtech, you know, some of the IPOs we're seeing in recent months with valuation, which may not be what we were expecting. What are the challenges do you think we need to face off? And what are the opportunities that Neoteq will take advantage of as we look at the world moving forward?
I mean, it is clear that in our business, not every startup in the end is successful. Yeah, you always have to handle failures. Okay, and of course, investors have expectations, and it is clear that you have to fulfill them as a team when you get the trust of your investors, but not everything can be handled only by the teams. Yeah, you have things in your daily business you can influence, and there are other things, market, environment, and all that stuff, where you sometimes do not really have an impact on. Yeah, so in the end, it means you always have to look at each case, why in the end it was not successful as perhaps expected in the beginning. At the moment, of course, looking at the world, there are a lot of big challenges, and they all have an impact also on things which are going on for startups. In the end, I expect that access to capital, especially in later stage financing rounds, will be tougher than in the last years. Okay, we are really coming from a high season, so it's not really surprising that this is changing now a little bit, which means valuations will go down a little bit. Access to capital will be a little bit more tough than in the last years. I expect also that the rounds will get a little bit smaller than in the recent 2 or 3 years. And that, of course, has also an impact on the M&A market. Okay, so if we look at the exit of portfolio companies, of course, perhaps that will take more time than you are used to from the last years. But I mean, if you are an experienced VC, then you know that it takes time until you can exit your companies from your portfolio. So you need 5 to 7 years or more to come to a point where you can really talk about an exit. So for us, having the fund just started, this is not a big issue because we are already calculating with that. But of course, for other funds who are coming to the end of their lifetime cycle, it can be a challenge. Apart from that, I don't think that the whole venture capital scene will freeze down or something like that, because there are so many new funds who have just started or just started 1 or 2 years ago that there is still enough capital in the market. The only question is, are all these funds willing to invest now, or do they wait a little bit until they make investment decisions? We will see what will happen. But if you look back to other crises which we had, the startups who have started in crisis times were often more successful than companies who have started in normal times. But the big question is, do we have normal times or not? I would say at the moment, definitely no.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainties. And as you echo right now, more mature investments, so Series B, I guess we'll find it more challenging to get funding. So B, C, D, we'll find it more challenging to get funding. And partly, I gather, is based on valuation, right? When we're able to raise money during the course of the past years at a higher valuation now, I guess when you go into your next fundraise, that valuation is being challenged by investors, right? So it's easier to invest in earlier stage, particularly European startups, which tend to have a valuation which is far more acceptable. And so therefore are more likely to be able to raise vis-a-vis older, more mature ventures.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you just said.
I'd like to go back to some of your principles as an investor and how you look at your team. You mentioned technology, you mentioned solving problems, and you actually highlighting teams. So can you tell us what are good teams for you? What are the criteria when you look at your venture due diligence process to look at in teams, partly because you invest in early stage, and sometimes technology is there and the problem is being solved, but at the end of the day, it's all about execution. So tell us, how do you evaluate teams?
So if we look at teams, for us, one thing is really important, and that is the structure of the team, okay? So we want to see who is in this team or in that team and what are their responsibilities. So who is the tech guy, who's the sales guy, who takes care of all the internal operations, and where do they come from? What is their background? What have they done before? Is it just a university idea, or is it something which they have created over a long period of time? And especially we want to understand, why do they want to build up this company? Okay, what is in the end really their goal? I mean, it is not bad to say, I only want to earn money with my startup, but what else are the reasons why they decided not to go to other jobs which were offered to them after they left school or university or whatever? Or is it something they created as an employee for a company and decided to leave the company to continue with that idea? So this is something which we want to understand, where we spend a lot of time on. We make, of course, reference calls. We meet several times with the teams and then try to get a picture and of them and how they really interact with each other and how good the relationship between the team members are. Because it is always clear that you will go through tough times as a startup team, and then it's important that you know that these people belong together, and it's not only I don't know how to say that in English, but I call it now a good weather idea. Okay, you also have to go through bad weather conditions, and then you have to stick together as a team. And this is for us really important. So we spent a lot of time on this team due diligence to get really the picture we need to come to an investment decision. Yeah, in the end, it's like always, when you don't believe into the team, you can skip the rest.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you are saying, good weather versus bad weather. And, you know, during the past few months, I think we've seen a little bit of bad weather. And so therefore, that was a perfect testing ground to see whether teams would actually fit and still stay together, actually, Simon. And I guess the past few months has been a great learning ground for teams to actually see how you weather good and bad weather and build sustainable businesses. I also heard a few investors mentioning is that, you know, in bad time is the best time to build a business, because then it cannot be worse than that, right? You've learned the hard way to doing it. So therefore, when it's good, it should be a breeze in the park. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I met a lot of teams who loved their technology and said, okay, we have the greatest technology in the world, but they forgot to concentrate on the product. You cannot be successful in the market without a good product. And even if the technology is great, it does not mean that the product is good. So you always need someone in the team who really looks at the market and what the customer wants, and really being able to create the product in a way that the customers love it and buy it. Okay, and it so you have to find this combination. The sales guy who is able to sell the product, then the product guy who creates the product in a way that it is possible for the sales guy to sell it, and you need the technology founder who is brilliant enough to create this technology to do the rest. So it's hard to find these teams, but they are out there, and this is part of our job to find them. Yeah. It's part of your job all our jobs to find it. And it's why I would say that we are very fortunate in Europe that we have a number of hubs, which allows us to touch young founders and young teams and evaluate their propositions and make choices. So my question to you, where do you think the best ventures come from in Europe? Do you have a favorite country? Of course, Germany, but apart from that, I really like what's going on in the Nordics. So if you take, for example, Denmark, Copenhagen, this is really fascinating to see what's going on there. But I also really love London, especially for the Insurtech community. It's really fascinating to see what's going on there in the city. Also really interesting from my point of view is France. VivaTech is just over. It's really fascinating to see how creative the whole ecosystem is there. So I think the whole startup ecosystem in Europe has really improved over the last years a lot, and this is good to see. Yeah, it has improved. I was at VivaTech. It was so hot in Paris, but you know, they had 96,000 people attending VivaTech this year. Yeah. And what I love about this conference is, you know, those, I call it the Disneyland of tech, because you have this little island around those corporates who are actually exhibiting the talent and the companies they're working with. And what I love doing, Simon, is actually look for those who are suitable for our industry that most of us would never have thought about. So I spend a lot of time on the LVMH and L'Oreal, you know, areas, hubs, just to see what they are using, who they're working with, and whether there is any one of them relevant for our industry. Yeah, my plan was to come to VivaTech my train from Cologne to Paris was canceled 2 times, and then I decided not to come.
Oh my God, incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, travel has been a little bit challenging for a lot of us in recent
That's true.
weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are going, probably we need to do another podcast just on travel, European travel.
Yeah.
What are the best tips to go from A to Z? Now, as a VC, your key metric should be financial returns. And, you know, the more and more I work with corporates who actually aims to set up their own corporate venture capital fund, I realize that some of the key metric is strategic return. How differentiate financial return from strategic return, and does it matter for you, Simon?
Yeah, so we are financial driven, okay? Each startup has, from our point of view, needs to have the potential to pay back our complete fund, okay? This is something which we look at, okay? If we do not see this potential, then it's unlikely that we will invest. Strategic returns are often combined with financial returns, at least from my point of view. But of course, especially CVCs often try to get some kind of extra deals with the teams, that they get earlier access to, for example, the product or whatever. This is something I would strongly recommend for each startup not to accept, because in the end, it is always not helpful, especially when corporates change their strategy. Then it can be that from one day to the other, you are no more relevant for them, and then the play is over. So if you from a startup perspective want to cooperate or to work together with a CVC, then you should have a kind of starting workshop where you really create the goals on which you would like to work with them, okay? And if during such a workshop you don't find a common understanding of what should be the goals for the future of this cooperation, then I would recommend to stop it, because normally then it will not be a successful partnership. And of course, strategic returns in the end are for CVCs when it is possible for them to get access through the investments to innovation, which they on their own would not create. Yeah, I think this is something, if you reach something like that, then you can be sure that the strategic goals or returns are achieved.
You know, when we were together just a few days ago, we talked about business models. And I'm sure you spend your days evaluating business models. What was your view around our conversation around digital ecosystems, embedded insurance, and some of the new trends we are seeing coming and building the new business model of insurance? What are the one you are betting on today, Simon?
One of our portfolio companies was live on stage, which is Mojo from Berlin. And I like their idea combining really needs for freelancers and creators with offers from financial institutions and insurances. Yeah, the access you get through the Mojo application is for both sides really interesting. So the creator gets access to insurance products which he normally would not get, or it would be more difficult for him to get it. And the insurer gets access to new customers where he normally, or where the insurer normally would have difficulties to reach them. Okay, so this is really a win-win situation, and the way how the insurance products are put into the Mojo product is, of course, very smart and makes a lot of sense. And for financial institutions, it is, of course, really interesting to work with these creators and freelancers in a way which normally would not be possible. So this is, for me, an example how especially embedded insurance can look like, and how also financial products can be established into the Mojo application in a much more easier way when it is available at the market today.
Yeah, Mojo is a great example, and I spent some time with you, Tina. And what also I like around this business model, because actually it was all about the future of work, which is the topic I'm really fascinated to talk and to learn, because, you know, it affects all of us, you know, with remote working, hybrid working. Now we are moving into what we call a creator economy, where everybody can earn if they want to by delivering some gigs. And so what I really love with that venture and its potential from a business model viewpoint, it's not only just about embedded insurance, but it's about digital ecosystem, right? It's building communities of like-minded people, freelancers, you know, digital nomads, the new creators of that creator economy we see emerging, you know, the LinkedIn and social media influencers who also are looking for delivering their services, but also looking for services supporting and protecting them. And so you have now two business models, right? Digital ecosystem plus embedded, plus I would say the technology, right? Which needs to be as a service platform to connect the dots amongst those different ecosystems, not only the creator, but also their insurers and the financial services provider. So the potential of that platform is limitless.
Yes, I totally agree. And just look at this simple example. Normally, the freelancer waits 10 to 12 weeks to get paid. Yeah. By using Mojo, he gets paid within 24 hours if everything is fine. And this is not only for the freelancer a big pain solution, it's also for the contractor interesting to handle the whole process in a really complete, quick and easier way as in the past. And so the solution is great, and everyone who is involved really has a lot of benefits from it.
Yeah, wonderful. So I want to ask you, Simon, what would be your last words of wisdom? You know, where is the world going? What are you predicting? And what should we pay attention to?
I think we should all spend more time on speaking to each other, learn from each other, and through all these conversations, hopefully get a better understanding for all the different interests in the world, and perhaps through that make it easier and safer for all of us. If that would be possible, I would be really happy.
Well, so a very wise word. So if early stage ventures want to find you, Simon, where should they go?
The easiest way to get in contact with you is with us. Sorry, we have a event which we call Fridays 15. Yeah, so go to our website neoteq.de, and then you can book a 50-minute Zoom call with us every Friday, and that's the easiest way how you can get in contact with us. Yeah. 50 minutes are enough to get the first understanding of each other, and then we can decide the rest. And we created that course during COVID times because it was not possible to go to events so on. And now we have this up and running for more 1.5 years, I think. And out of founders, the opportunity took such a 50-minute slot on play, and then it's really great what conversations and out we have gained to this very simple idea. I'm happy to repeat it again. Fridays 15 is the name of the format, and you can book it through our website.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Simon. So young ventures can either reach out to Simon and BJ for their Friday 15 minutes chat to actually see whether there are collaborative opportunities. Well, Simon, thank you very much for your time, for sharing so much about Neoteq, about your past, about your trends, and where you're actually pointing your lens around where to invest in the future. That was really insightful, and thank you.
Sabine, I have to thank you. Thank you very much for this great opportunity, and I hope to see you soon.
I can't wait. Thank you.